Hello, everybody. The lesson that you're about to watch is a one-on-one coaching that I did with a very new actress. I think this was her first audition ever. She was very new to acting. She had just started my classes, and she got an audition for a feature film. It was just 4 lines, and you will see this is how much work we did just for the 4 lines. And you guys didn't even see the whole coaching session. I'm just showing you pieces of it. But I just wanted to give you some ideas of the kind of work that you need to do for every audition, and also the kinds of things that you need to think about in terms of relationships and getting specific, and also how well do you know the material, and should you hold the sides or not hold the sides. Which brings me to, for you very new actors, there's a new term. Sides are the part of the script that they've taken out for you to audition with. So just the pages from the script that you're reading from for the audition are called sides. On set, if you're working on a movie set or a TV set, your sides are the pages that you're shooting that day. So it's whatever pages have been pulled from the script for whatever purpose, whether it's that's what you're shooting that day or that's what they want you to audition with. So now you know what sides are if you didn't know before. You'll learn a lot of other things in here, and I hope you enjoy the lesson. There's so much more to cover when it comes to auditions, so this is just scratching the surface. Stay tuned. I'm going to do a lot more lessons on auditioning, but I hope that you enjoy this one. So, and you said you did memorize it?
I did. I just sorry.
That's okay. No, I don't mind. I'm just curious.
Yeah,
so that's good. And you don't ever, it's never required, and even for SAG shows,
so
they don't
short.
have to. Yeah, no, I'm just saying it just to give you all the information. Okay. That it's not, they, like even SAG films, they can't legally require you to memorize, because then technically it's a screen test and they have to pay you.
Oh.
So, so they'll never say come in memorized, but be memorized if you can.
Yeah.
My rule, when I watched actors on tape auditioning, the difference between this, even if they're good at keeping it up,
Right.
and
This, yeah.
the performance is night and day, because you don't get rehearsal on film and TV. There's no rehearsal.
Oh, really? Oh, okay.
Very rarely.
I did not know that.
So usually, especially for TV, because it happens so fast. So if you get the job, it's because exactly what you did in the casting room is what they want you to do on set.
Okay.
Of course, there might be technical tweaks and things like that. But for the most part, they're hiring you because they're hiring your performance, and they want you to just come and show up and do exactly what you did in the room, because that's what worked. So that's always a good thing to remember. In other words, show them what you're going to do on set.
Right.
So I used to really get myself, like, I think I would get in my own way, because I would go into an audition and be like, well, this is just an idea of what I'll do. You know what I mean? But it was such a lazy approach, because they're like, we don't have time for an idea. We want a fully fleshed performance. So you have to like do that work every time. So I'm glad you know it. And even if you do know it, always bring them with you.
Right.
We're taping this, but for the future, always have it with you. And I always like to have it in my hand, even if I never look at it.
Yeah.
And I can memorize it enough that I kind of know where to turn the page. So God forbid I did blank out and I had to look, I would know where to find the line. So I'm a little bit photographic in my memory. It's really annoying to other actors, because I'm like, oh, that line's at the bottom of the 3rd page. But it's good to kind of know where, so you're not totally lost when you do have to look down. And nerves are tricky. They can make you're like, I knew this so well. Why don't I know this right now?
I said, remember the first time I had class? It just left my head.
Yeah.
It just gone.
Yeah, it just leaves your head. It's amazing what nerves can do. Which is actually a really valuable thing to remember overall, because what happens is when we're not relaxed, it's harder for our right hemisphere brain, our like creative brain, and the part of us that has insights and all that. It's hard for that brain it's like cutting it off when you're tense.
Yeah.
So the more relaxed, it's just like when you're relaxed, you have ideas.
Right.
That's why. It's because when you're relaxed, you can have those sides, and it's also easier to recall like memory stuff. So it's always good to remember that's why it's so important for actors to learn how to be in a relaxed state, because then you can access everything you need to access in your mind, right? Okay.
Could them not doing their best job on this have?
Yeah.
So.
Okay, good. So there's high stakes, so that's good. So always look for ways to make it more personal for you too. So I like that you said, she takes her job really seriously because it's really important. So a way to even just make that personal is that she loves her job.
Yeah.
Right? I mean, even that just feels more personal. Like, I love my job.
Right. It's meaningful to her.
Yeah. So I love my job, and so your relationship with him. So I always recommend that you cast people.
Yeah.
So have you cast somebody to be him?
I have someone in mind.
So now you also have to add your imagination to, you spend every day, all day with this person.
Right.
I mean, these are the kinds of jobs where the people we work with know us better than our families at home sometimes. Yeah. So that's always good to remember, is how well do you guys know each other, Like, how well do you know each other that, like, he knows that if you eat half a jelly donut, that it's okay for him to finish it, that you did that on purpose. You know what I mean?
Right.
That's how intimate, like those specific little things that you daydream about are what creates the relationship. It's like, yep, he knows, you know what I mean? So he comes in, he's like, oh, this is my half of it because you guys split it every day. Right. You don't even have to talk about it anymore. Little things like that, Or whose job it is to make more coffee, Right. It's like those things don't even have to be said. So, so what do you want from him in this?
I want him to focus. I want him to pay attention to what we have to do instead of daydreaming about fishing. Because he does that a lot, and he gets lost in thought completely, like not even there, just checked out.
Yeah.
And I'm like, dude.
Yeah.
I know he's smart. I know he's competent. I know you could do better than that. Like, come on, we need to focus.
So you want him to take it seriously?
Yeah, I do. Yep.
Okay. All right. Let's run through it again. Okay. Is the camera going to make you nervous?
No, I don't think so.
Okay.
But I've never been on camera. So.
Okay. Well, he's not on you as much, but I want this. I still want you to get the full coaching experience too. So, but this is actually good for you.
Yeah.
This is also when I talk about public solitude. Is like there's this awareness that there's another person in the room and a camera in the room, but it also has to be just me and you. So it's kind of good discipline too, Especially because when you do, my gosh, sometimes you'll go into a casting room and you think it's like, oh, it's usually just me and the casting assistant. Usually, a lot of times you don't even get to see the casting director. It's just like some like college kid with a camera, and you're like, okay. And then sometimes you go in and you're like, oh, I didn't realize this was a producer session, and there's like 20 people in the room. So it's good to be ready for anything. Yeah. Okay. So many takeaways from that lesson. Am I right? Like I said, I barely scratched the surface. I didn't even show you the whole coaching. She's a really new actress, but I think there's a lot of valuable takeaways in here. Even if you're an experienced auditioner, I think there's a lot of really great little nuggets of information and really good reminders. The only takeaways that I think I'm going to highlight, because I think the lesson really speaks for itself. I mean, the lesson is really highlights from a coaching, but I think the thing that I really like about this one is how I was showing her how detailed you can get in relationships. And like I said, this was a surfacey kind of shallow version of the preparation, but I wanted to start getting her imagination working when I talked about with her and the other detective, how they share a jelly donut, that if she eats part of it, he knows he can finish it. Like that kind of intimacy and closeness in a working relationship. So it's really good, I think, to think in terms of details like that and find things that are not on the page to give you more of a relationship that's specific and human and has a lot of life to it. One more takeaway that I want to add that I think is really important, and I'll talk about more in future lessons, I promise, is how important it is to cast somebody. Now, obviously, when you go in to do the audition, you're going to be reading with the reader. But I think it's so important to cast somebody in your mind in that other role so you know what kind of actor that you're working off of, because people affect us in different ways. And here's a really good example of how that comes into play. I was coaching an actor last night. She's worked a ton. She auditions all the time. She's really talented and amazing. But I could tell she hadn't cast one of the other parts in her head. So it was very vague. Her relationship with him wasn't specific, and her relationship with him is so important for this film. So I was like, what is your point of view? Who is this guy? And we finally nailed it. What worked for her to imagine who her partner would be. Now, obviously, if she gets this role in the film, she's going to work off what's in front of her. She's going to work off the other actor. But for her, for this audition, she needed to find somebody specific to be playing off of so she could make choices accordingly. And she made a really strong choice that worked for her, and it changed her audition, and it was so much fun to see the difference. So I really encourage you to do that. If you can't think of a person in your life to plug into that role, like I said, I'll do more lessons talking about this because I'm sure people are going to have questions. Sometimes I like to cast an actor that I know that I've worked with in the past. I like cast them in my head that they're playing that role because I know that they bring certain things out of me or they affect me emotionally in a way that's appropriate for the relationship in the audition. And that really helps me find a way into the scene and really helps me have a strong, specific relationship. So I highly recommend you do that. You cast all of the people that are in the scene with you. And also, you cast anybody that you talk about, right? Even if they're not in the scene, so they're specific to you. So if I mention my crazy neighbor Dave, I got to cast somebody in my mind I just thought of somebody great that I could plug into that to be like, oh, crazy Dave out there, Like, see, already you can probably see on me that I'm talking about a specific person that makes me feel a certain way and I have a point of view. So I strongly, strongly urge you to try doing that. And like I said, be careful when you're actually working with another actor. That's the other character. You work off what's in front of you. But for the sake of auditioning, cast somebody in your mind that's a strong acting choice for you.